thought I was going to record more, but here we are in Pennsylvania, and Andy's Mobile Dyno is tuning the car. Now we got Paulie here, Paulie's here, and cars on the dyno. What's that? Oh yeah, cars on the dyno. There's a lot of cool stuff around here, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff around, a lot of ethers. But the car's on the dyno. I put a big fan on the front of the intercooler because the IATs were already high. Andy said once air starts moving through the engine, they cool down, but I really need to make some shrouding for that thing and make the rad fans pull the air through it. So right now there's no shrouding around it, so I put that fan up against the front of it basically so that it'll guarantee that there's airflow running through it. So he just did some partial pulls as he's dialing some stuff in. We're gonna record the next one. I don't know if it's gonna be a full pull, but we'll record the next one. It looks sick, it sounds sick, and it hasn't blown up yet.
Why?
I've been nervous all day, but now it's just to the point. It's to the point where it's like, we're gonna run with it. All right, guys, so we got numbers. We're back from the dyno. Car's off the trailer, back in the driveway here, and we have some results. However, the results are not necessarily what I wanted. However, it's fixable. We just need to diagnose it a little bit. Now, the issue that we had, which you might actually be able, I know you can, if you look back, you can see in the video where the supercharger is right in the front. You can see halfway through the pool on the fuel pressure gauge up towards the battery on the left side, passenger side of the engine bay, you can see the fuel pressure gauge. It goes up to like 70 PSI during the pool, and then it like falls off as the engine gets to a higher RPM. Now, that's a problem. We don't want that. We were kind of racking our brains while the car was still in the dyno as to why it could be doing it. It is a fuel delivery issue because it has a DeFusco 420 pump in it. It should be enough pump for what we're doing, but for some reason up top, it's just not getting enough fuel up to the front of the car. So I'm gonna put a different pump in it. I'm gonna put a Hellcat Walbro 535 pump in it. That's what I wanted to run, but Turn 14 didn't have one in stock. They had the DeFusco 420, which again, should be totally fine for the amount of power we're making, but I think what I'm gonna do is reach out to DeFusco and just let them know the issue I had, see if something was up. We're gonna put the Hellcat pump in the surge tank and see if that fixes our issue. I checked the voltage, both coming out of the alternator and at the pump, like at the top of the surge tank during a pull, and even when the fuel pressure was falling off, the pump was still getting 14 volts. So, the size of the surge tank, we really don't think that it's sucking the surge tank dry. That's a lot of fuel that is getting consumed at that point, and we really don't think that's an issue because also the stock pump is plenty to be keeping that surge tank full. So I think it's just a pump issue or something in the surge tank. We're going to open it up and we're going to figure it out. We're going to diag it a little bit at some point here, but the car made 505 horsepower and 585 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty good for running out of fuel at 5,500 RPM. Now, there are a couple other issues we need to address here that kind of came up over the last day or so. Now, he thinks it'll make the power. That's good. We just need to figure out why this thing isn't flowing enough fuel to the front up top. So I'm gonna make a hose, a line, an AN line that comes off the fuel pressure regulator that I can put my mechanical gauge out of the engine and when I put a new pump in, we can do some street pulls and try and see if this thing falls off before we go back to the dyno. And if we don't lose oil, or if we don't lose fuel pressure with a new pump in it, then we'll be good to go back to the dyno. The other thing is the brake's not working. I found that out today. And the clutch is really low to the floor. I think the clutch needs to be bled. So let me show you guys some routing here on the brakes. I wanted to have this video up and made the dyno video way sooner than I did, but just with an unfinished product, I need a little more meat in the video. So there are 4 things that I needed to get done before it goes back to the dyno, ideally. Number 1, the fuel issue needs to be corrected. Now, I'll show you guys in a little bit, but today I received my Hellcat fuel pump. And then Andy also mentioned that the clutch felt a little weird on the dyno. So when I got in it, the last inch of pedal travel had pressure. Everything else was dead. So that was number 2. Number 3 was that the slip clamps on the exhaust kept loosening and kind of pushing off a little bit. So Paulie said he can give me a hand with welding up the exhaust. We're going to replace those slip joint clamps because there's a 2-bolt flange right behind them. We're just going to replace that with a 3-inch piece of pipe and weld it around, so that we'll be good there. And I also got new donut gaskets for where the headers are, where the 2-bolt flanges connect to the headers. So ideally we should have no exhaust leaks. Also, we're going to redo the turn downs in the back so I can stop melting my rear bumpers. So that'd be nice too. And then the last thing is an alignment, just for the sake of being able to drive it on the street and whatnot. The front toe is out a little bit. If we have good results today, I might try and eyeball it a little better and see if we can get it on the street. But the other night, Kenny and I were out here. I was working on some vinyl wrap, and he was like, let's bleed the clutch. And I was like, all right, let's bleed the clutch. So we're bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. And we cannot figure out why we are struggling so much with this thing. Now, you guys know I run if you don't, here you go. I run the Jason Baker adapter. It's the first version 1 of the Jason Baker Willwood adapter. So this only applies if you have a Jason Baker kit. So the Jason Baker kits are no longer available at this time. So unfortunately, if you don't have one, you got to go on like the V1 page on Facebook and try and get yourself a used one. So that's what I did. Got a used one. Put it in 2 years ago after we had our weekend thrown away at LS Fest because of a bad factory master. And I had a heck of a time bleeding it back then, but then I ran it for 2 years and it was fine. When I put this car back together with the new slave, new clutch and all that, I'm bleeding. I spent 3 nights trying to bleed this clutch and I finally got a pedal. But then by the time the car was done on the dyno, our pedal was gone. So Kenny was like, let's disconnect the line in the middle between the master and the slave and see what we have coming out. Well, the whole pedal stroke, nothing was coming out of the master until that last inch of the pedal, and then it pushed some fluid, but the force of the fluid, you could literally hold it in the line with your thumb. So leaning towards bad master. So that's my first thing today, is I want to take care of the master. I've been working on the wrap. We're getting there on the color change, but we have a new Willwood master cylinder. I'll show you guys here in a sec. So the Jason Baker kit V1 is this piece right here that goes through your firewall, and there's a lock ring on the other side. And then the Willwood master bolts onto it, and then he also made these threaded rods that would go in, so we'll have to swap the threaded rod over to the new master cylinder. But it uses this 0.875, which Willwood rounds up to a 0.88 master cylinder. I'll give you guys the part number, but I was able to source a new one right here. Let's see, we got a part number. We got a part number. Well, it's the compact remote combination master cylinder set. It comes with this whole kit. Here's the part numbers. So just look up a Willwood 0.875 compact master cylinder and this guy should come up. So we have the new one here, 8-27, 8-27. Yeah, they're identical. So we should be good. We also have the option to do a larger remote reservoir. So I might look into this as a possibility. We'll see if, I mean, it needs to mount off this bracket. So I don't know if I'm gonna have the room to mount that big master cylinder anywhere. Maybe over here, I don't know. It'd be cool to get a bigger reservoir versus the little tiny reservoir. So maybe a down the line thing, or maybe I just leave it the factory, the little factory reservoir guy, wherever that is. Oh, right here. Ah, right here. This little guy. So we're gonna have to modify this. We're gonna take this boot off, and we're going to have to swap the rod, like I mentioned. But then I think part of the dead giveaway for me was that when I disconnected the two bolts that hold this together, couldn't help but notice that the inside of the master cylinder, you can still see in there, it was full of fluid. Well, not full, but it had brake fluid in it. Well, this should not be seeping fluid out through here. So something is wrong in that sense. It was not leaking in the car, but it was down. So I guess it wasn't making it over this lip and pushing into the car. But yeah, I mean, this master cylinder was leaking internally, but then a little bit externally. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this rod swapped over to our new master and start reassembling. We have an adapter fitting here to convert to the -4 AN line that meets up with the factory line. So I'm just going to do all the swapping, and then we'll get this thing set up to go back in the car. I am going to also bench bleed the new one so that it'll help hopefully make our bleeding process a little quicker. So yeah, I'm just gonna get to it, and I'll check back in with you guys when I'm ready to slap this thing back in the car. Okay, so the master cylinder is in. We're down in there, new Woolwood rig, got everything hooked back up. I had the bleeder open, but I'm gonna get this bled once. I'm gonna con my sister into helping me do it once she's done work. But I pulled the fuel pump hanger out of our surge tank down in there, and we have the DeFusco pump. Apparently these labels don't like fuel, so when you start pulling the fuel pump out, the label slips off. So cool. So I'm running a DW 420 liter per hour at 40 psi pump. It's this guy right here, and I want to take some measurements of the outlet here, but also this guy right here. This is my return from the engine. It goes to the very bottom of the surge tank. This one is my supply line from the stock tank. So both of these are completely submerged in fuel and blowing downward, so you don't have the opportunity for aeration in the tank, from what I'm aware of, from what I've read. You don't want it just like dumping out up top. So we have our Hellcat pump. I'm gonna go grab that. I wanna measure this barb right here because I have a -8 out, and obviously you can see how it narrows down there. But like, I don't know if that's gonna be an issue because I wanna see what the outlet size is on the Hellcat pump. If the outlet size on the Hellcat pump matches this size right here, then like that shouldn't be an issue. So I'm gonna go grab the Hellcat pump, and then we'll get back into it here. Okay, so here we have the Hellcat fuel pump. This is the new 535 pump from Walbro, and it has no check valve in it. So this thing is gonna be flowing. It is, I think it should fit. Let me make sure this thing fits in its holder. It should, from what I read. Oh yeah. So we'll lube it up. We'll get it up in there in those O-rings. It's dimensionally just about the same as the DeFusco pump, except it just has this bigger body at the bottom. So I got a little strainer guy. I didn't run the strainer on the DeFusco one because the way it came with like this little, like this piece right here, the little crimp piece, it was like on its own, and it grabbed and then like wouldn't stay on. So I wasn't running one of those. I guess this would work on here too. It's pretty universal. But I got the Hellcat pump. We got our little pump strainer here that we're gonna run. And then I also have, instead of running rubber hose from the pump to the feed, I have corrugated tubing that is, you know, E85 compatible, all that jazz. But we're gonna run this. It's kind of more similar to like factory stuff. But let me take a measurement. I'm gonna take an internal measurement. We're gonna go to millimeters, zero this out. The inside of the Hellcat feed is, we'll say 5.7 millimeter. And then I want to take a measurement on the inside of this guy here. Yeah, I think we're about the same. And then also outer wise, the corrugated tube kind of slides on there, no problem. So once we heat up this corrugated tube, we'll push it all the way up. And that should be good. We'll throw a clamp on it. And then same deal here. Corrugated tube, we'll heat it up, push it on this bar, throw a clamp on it to be safe. And I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm going to switch up and utilize outlet number 1, which is over here. So we're still going to put the pump in the same spot, but then since we have the corrugated tube, I can might be able to loop it around. I don't know, we're going to play with that, but we're going to figure out what we got to do here to make this work. All right, so here's our new hanger setup. Corrugated tube, swapped the outlet to outlet 1. It was at outlet 2, so I just swapped the plug in the dash 8. So I measured this, was like 5.7, I think, millimeter was the outlet on this, on the Hellcat pump. The outlet right here was 6 point something millimeter, and then out here the dash 8 was like 9 point something millimeter. So it is a constant step up going out, so that I thought maybe this fitting right here could have been a bottleneck, so I got a bigger fitting. Turns out the fitting I ordered was too big, but I think there's no bottleneck. The thinnest part is the pump. So we have our tank feed, we have our engine return, we have our overflow, we have it wired up just with some ring terminals to the pass-throughs. So I'm gonna drop this thing in, and I don't know, we're gonna hook it up and see what happens. All right, so the Hellcat pump is installed. Basically just drop the hammer back in. Hammer. Oh dude, what am I saying? This is one of those days. So I dropped the hanger back in, got it all secured. We refilled the surge, hot wired the stock pump, so we refilled the surge till it started returning, and then we kicked it on, started the car. It blew out a lot of water, like rusty water out of the exhaust, which is weird. But that means it came out of like this portion of the exhaust, because it wasn't dripping up there. So like it was just dripping back. It must have been condensation. I mean, this thing has been sitting, hasn't been started in like 2 weeks, and it's been very humid and stuff here, so I don't know, that was a weird one. But I mean, it doesn't overheat, the oil is still crystal clear, so I'm not gonna freak myself out and say I might have a blown head gasket. But anyways, still gotta bleed this. But then I routed the fuel pressure gauge out from under the hood, so I did a little 8th MPT adapter to dash 3, and I have this piece of dash 3 line laying around. It's actually a spare brake line from my spares box, to another 8th MPT adapter into the fuel pressure gauge, taped it up to the windshield. I revved it and hit limiter, and it did not drop fuel pressure, but under load, when it's actually making a little more consistent boost, is when we'll be able to tell. So if I can get this clutch bled and get some other things, you know, just cleaned up, which I'm going to work on now, we should be able to try driving this tonight. And as long as there's still daylight and I can see that gauge, I'll be able to tell if the pressure drops off. And if it doesn't, that's a win. If it does, we have another problem on our hands. All right guys, we are now, this video was just supposed to be going to the dyno for one time, making power, carb and tune being good. Then it turned into going to the dyno, making some power, running out of fuel, fixing the fuel, fixing the clutch, and now we're going back to the dyno. I hit up Andy's mobile dyno, who is tuning the car, last night, and I was like, hey, I think the Hellcat pump that he recommended fixed my issue. And then he goes, hey, you either want to come by tomorrow or next week. And I was like, well, I'm not available next week, so I'll make myself available tomorrow. So the car's back there, back on the trailer again, and we're heading up to go see Andy again. We got about an hour and a half drive ahead of us here. However, I drove the car last night, and I didn't experience the fuel pressure drop, so I'm hoping that will be good by the time this car gets to Andy's. No fuel pressure drop. I beat the crap out of it for like 3 pulls. I did like full flat out third gear from like 4,000 RPM to like red line, and it didn't seem like the pressure dropped, and it got pretty rich up top. And Andy said that was going to happen, but the way he left it, it was going to richen up as long as I had the fuel flow. So I think we're good on that front. I need to remember where I'm going here. Yeah, all right, I'm going the right way. But yeah, so I think the fuel pressure issue is fixed. The oil pressure, I don't even remember if I made a clip. I think I made a clip. Oil pressure is like, it was fine, but it was just like, So I was like, I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to get that brake-in oil out, because that brake-in oil has been there for a couple warm-up cycles, and then the dyno, the first dyno session. So I drained that out this morning. I also got rid of, I didn't even think about this, but I had them on the shelf because we sell them on the site, the K&N oil filters, and they're like a high flow filter, and it probably shouldn't have been what I used for the initial start, just because like, I guess higher flow theoretically could mean less filtration, but they say they filter good. I don't know. It's probably fine. I think I'm just overreacting because I was reading forums last night, and everyone always bugs out on the forums. So I put VR1 1030 conventional oil in it. I drained out the oil. Everything looked good. The oil looked good. It obviously was, diluted with some metal and like break-in stuff. There was some metal sludge on the drain plug, which is to be expected as things break into each other, but there were no chunks, it looked better than my old engine. No chunks, no nothing, everything looked good. So now we have fresh oil in there, fresh filter, and we're as ready to go as we can be. We're gonna stop, we're gonna get some gas, and we'll check in once this thing is strapped in on the dyno, hopefully get a couple run clips, and hopefully put this thing back on the trailer as a tuned LT4 supercharged LS2 CTS-V drift car. I just dropped the trailer and the car off, going away for the rest of the weekend. So I'm gonna go meet up with Morgan down the shore, and we'll pick back up on car stuff this week because we have a car meet coming up. But final results here. So car made 537 and 548, I think it was. It was on the screen, so we'll put it on the screen here. I'm rounding up, but good numbers. I'm happy with it. Our fuel issue was solved. the throttle was doing some weird stuff after flashing it. It would throw a code for the TAC module, which might be the dreaded gas pedal failure that the first half of the first gens, the Gen 3 cars, suffer from. Thankfully, I have a replacement pedal at home. So if the code comes back and it is the throttle pedal, I'll swap that pedal in and we'll be fine. But all in all, I was shooting for 550. Andy said that it would make 550 if he took away a degree of time, or if he added a degree of timing and basically went up like a tenth or so, a point or so in AFR. So basically leaned it out, a little more timing, and he's like, it would hit 550, you know, no problem, next run. But it's a drift car. Andy's a drifter. He knows. We're gonna be beating the crap out of the car. You know, you don't want it, I don't want it on that like crazy hot tune, you know what I mean? So I'm very happy with 536 horsepower and basically being a reliable setup. You know, it is rich, a tinge on the rich side across the board, but that's very safe. And he said the car really likes where all the settings are at right now, so I trust him on that one. So the LT4-supercharged LS2 makes 536 horsepower. The Hellcat pump fixed my issue. Honestly, if you guys are doing any kind of aftermarket forced induction, whatever it may be, put one of those Hellcat 535 pumps in. For the price, it was like $160 or something. For the price, you can't beat it. Like, it's just crazy. So I'm going to, when I come back in a few days, we're going to get the car off the trailer. We're going to give it a toe plate adjustment in the front. We have a car meet coming up this week. And unfortunately, we're not going to be going drifting yet because we still have stuff to do now in order to pass tech at the track. I need to make a firewall in the rear. I have to get a proper alignment. I need an updated harness and all that stuff. So we're probably just going to be doing some cruising and just enjoying the car a little bit on the street because, you know, this whole project was a crazy deadline. And just the fact that I made it to this point, it was very stressful. It was exhausting. It drained my bank account a couple times. But, you know, at the end of it all, we're done. It runs. That's good. It's just now time to enjoy for a little bit before we set a deadline of a drift event. Freedom Moves is like the first or second weekend of September. Freedom Moves has a special place in my heart, just like Haunted Moves in E-Town. And maybe we'll shoot for Freedom Moves. We'll have it ready by then. So we'll see what we get into next, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first video you've seen, go back. We've documented this whole entire build. Once I finish the wrap, I will make a more like an overall video of just going through the exact setup, because I know during this build process the setup has changed a couple times. We've made things, we've had to build some parts, you know, things like that. We'll go through the whole thing in detail so you guys will know what you need to LT4 supercharge your first gen Cadillac CTS-V. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We'll see you in the next one.